All right, here's our third rule. It's our power to a power rule with negatives. So let's first refresh our memory. When an exponent is raised to another exponent, you keep the base and you multiply the exponents. So let's do a couple of these together. So example 1, we have 5 to the second power raised to the negative second power. So we're going to keep the base, which is a 5, and then we're going to take 2 times the other power, negative 2. That's going to give us 5 to the negative fourth power. Now we can't accept this answer because we can't have an answer with negative exponents in it. So we're going to use our negative exponents that we learned to do in the previous lesson, put it over 1, make it a fraction, and then we're going to send it to the other floor where it becomes happy. So 5 to the fourth becomes positive, goes in the bottom, and some 1 moves in on top. So the answer here is 1 over 625. I only know that because 5 times 5 is 25, so 25 times 25 is 625. All right, let's do example 2. For this one, we have x to the negative third power raised to the eighth power. So we're going to start with our power rule, which is keep the base, and our base is an x. And then we're going to multiply negative 3 times 8. So that's going to give us x to the negative 24th power, because 8 times 3 is 24, and a negative times a positive is a negative. Now we can't leave the answer like this because we can't have negative exponents. So first we want to make it a fraction by putting it over 1. And then we're going to send it to another floor where it becomes happy. So x to the positive 24th is now on bottom, and some 1 moves in on the top, and there's nothing more I can simplify for that. So 1 over x to the 24th would be my final answer. All right, let's look at the next example, example 3. This time we have b to the negative 6 b to the negative 6 to the negative 9th power. So we're going to keep our base. So the first thing we're going to do here is keep our base, which happens to be a b this time, and then we're going to take the power of negative 6 times the power of negative 9. All right, so let's simplify that. We're going to end up with b, and 6 times 9 is 54, and then a negative times a negative is a positive. So this answer is acceptable. There's nothing more that you need to do. B to the 54th power, because the negative times the negative gave us a positive exponent, and we leave it. All right, the last example here has our coefficients. So there's a couple things we need to do with those coefficients. If you remember, we need to make sure that each of the problems has an exponent, and then we're going to distribute that exponent on the outside. So the 7 is going to get an exponent of 1. The x has an exponent of negative 2, and the y has an exponent of 4. So we're going to take this negative 2, and we're going to multiply it by the 1. And we're going to multiply it by the negative 2, and we're going to multiply it by the 4. All right, so let's do that. So we're going to keep the base of 7, and we're going to multiply 1 times negative 2, and I'm just going to write out my work. And then I'm going to keep the base of x. So each of these bases, there's 3 of them. So keep the base of x, and then we're going to take the exponent negative 2 and multiply it by the outside one, which is also a negative 2. And then I'm going to keep the base of y, and I'm going to multiply 4 times negative 2. All right, so now let's clean this up a little. So I'm going to have 7 to the 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. And then I'm going to have x to the negative 2 times negative 2. That gives me a positive 4. And then y, 4 times negative 2, well, that's a negative 8. So we're still not finished because we have negative exponents with the 7 and negative exponents with the y. So we need to get rid of those negative exponents. So the first thing we're going to do here is make this a fraction by putting it over 1. So let's see if there's anything we're going to leave on top. Well, yes, the x to the 4th is happy, so we're going to leave it on the top. It's perfectly fine, x to the 4th. But then 7 to the negative 2 is going to come down here to the bottom and become 7 squared. And then y to the negative 8th also needed to come to the bottom and become y to the positive 8. One more thing I'm going to do to clean this up, I'm going to leave my x to the 4th on the top. But then my 7 squared, I'm going to simplify that to 49 y to the 8th. So final answer, x to the 4th divided by or over 49y to the 8th power. All right, and that is how you simplify power rule with negatives.